Hey guys, this is GCA 61087 coming back with part 2 of the 3-part video tutorial series to go along with the MLG article Player Guide Basics of the Rush. And in this video I'm going to be going over what's known as a Proxy 2-gate rush for Protoss, where I'm going to be throwing down 2 gateways very close to my opponent's base and streaming Zealots in as fast as I can. Now, if you haven't watched the first part of the tutorial yet, I went over some terminology and gave you guys some tips to where you could go and learn about terminology that you're unfamiliar with. So if you haven't checked out part 1, make sure you do that, because I'm not going to go over those tips again in part 2 of this tutorial. Now, one difference you're going to notice right away from the Zerg Rush is that I'm going to start mining with all 6 workers. That's the same, but I'm actually going to be training up a couple of additional workers at the start of this rush. The reason I'm going to want to do that is because Zealots are more expensive units, and I'm also going to be throwing down 2 production buildings. The 2 gateways have a cost of 300 as opposed to the 200 of the spawning pool, so I'm going to need a little bit more income coming in for this rush to be successful. You'll see with my first 6 workers, the first one to return its minerals, I'm going to send that out to go build a pylon somewhere close to my opponent's base in a location where it's unlikely to be scouted. I'll catch back up with that in a second. So I got 1 additional probe trained up already. I've got a 2nd additional probe being trained, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and stop probe production for the rest of this rush. So here we go. I've got my probe heading out behind my opponent's natural expansion, and it's going to throw up a pylon. As you can see, this hidden location right here, this is an area that's not likely to get scouted on a natural scouting path. If an opponent were to just send a worker scout out and right click it directly on my base, it would just head out this way and then towards this ramp and not be able to see this area over here. So with my first 150 minerals, after that pylon finishes, I'm going to throw down my first gateway, which will allow me to train up some Zealots. I'm going to go ahead and hang out with my probe here, actually gather some minerals from this mineral patch here before I throw down this gateway, because I'm going to send this probe back to go start mining as soon as he's done throwing down the 2nd gateway. So there we go, 2nd gateway goes down, and I'm going to send that probe back to mine. So for right now, just going to be waiting for these gateways to finish. I've got my rally point set up right here. I'm not necessarily going to want to send my first Zealot in for this rush, because that'll kind of give it away and allow my opponent to prepare for it a little better. I'm going to wait till I get a couple more Zealots. I'm going to wait till I get 3 in this video before I go and start attacking. So we'll see this first Zealot being trained up, and I'm going to be using Chrono Boost from the Nexus, which speeds up the production capabilities of any building it's used on by 50% for 20 seconds, so this Zealot's going to get out even faster. Normally a player is going to use that Chrono Boost to get their workers out very early on so they can get a better economy up, but for the purpose of this rush, I'm going to be using it on my Zealots to get them out as fast as possible. And you'll have 3 saved up at the beginning of this rush, and you'll have a 4th one ready to be used very shortly afterwards. Now at this point, I'm at 14 of 18 supply. What I'm going to do is start training up a Zealot. Meanwhile, back in my base, I've got a pylon going up, which will increase my food count so I can continue to produce Zealots during this rush. Alright, we'll get back right in here. Now Zealots, unlike Zerglings, are very strong units, but they're also slow, so they can handle these SCVs a little better on their own. I'm not going to have to keep as close of an eye as I did with my Zerglings, but I'm still going to want to try and surround these Marines as soon as they come out, and I'm going to want to try and kill any SCVs that may be trying to put up a bunker, so those Marines will have a little additional safety. As you can see, I'm not taking as much care of my Zealots, just kind of letting them roam on their own, because they do have so many hit points and do so much damage. They are able to take these SCVs down with ease. At this point, again, my opponent is not mining. They're not going to be able to train up any additional units to take care of this rush or do a counterattack, so my computer opponent is going to go ahead and surrender with the GG, the good game. Alright guys, that's the end of part 2 of this 3-part video tutorial. In the 3rd part, I'll be teaching you how to do a Reaper rush as Terran.